Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kathy Neifeld, one of the four partners at Agency One. Together with Ed Lesher, Dennis Bartos, and Gonzalo Garcia, I am honored to welcome you to the 2020 Agency One Annual Advisor Conference. Almost 30 years ago, when Ed and Dennis and Gonzalo were with the Potomac Group, they started offering these educational, networking, and idea sharing conferences for the benefit of the advisors that they worked with. 28 years without a miss, these conferences were held in person from our nation's capital. Agency One's intention was to have this meeting in person in Washington, D.C. this past April, and of course, we all know what happened. For those of you who have attended our conferences in the past, thank you for being with us today. For those of you who do not know us, we hope that this experience will give you some takeaways that will help you grow personally and professionally, and that it will expose you to the culture, capabilities, and professionalism of the Agency One organization and family. Our format this year, as you would expect, is a little different now that we have been forced to take this meeting into a virtual platform. With that said, as is our custom, we did not cut any corners on content and opportunities to learn and share. In fact, we may have gone overboard. We will have content for you during the entire month of October on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays during the noon hour Eastern Time, and a smattering of 30-minute workshops at the 3 p.m. hour Eastern Time. For those of you that joined us yesterday, we hope you found value from the opening session with Ben Nemtin on how to make the impossible possible. The entire meeting is being hosted through an attendee hub, where you will have the entire agenda, live streams, virtual meeting rooms, and a virtual exhibit hall for our insurance company partners. The exhibit hall is open each Wednesday from 11 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. I hope that you took some time during the past hour to visit with them virtually through the attendee hub. Many of our insurance company partners are providing different content and offerings on each Wednesday, so please be sure to visit their booths for additional information about what they are providing. Without their support, this event would not be possible. These sessions are open to everyone, and I would like to encourage you to invite others in your network to register and join us. There will be a number of Agency One 100 advisor-only sessions, which are by invitation, including a virtual cooking demonstration, as well as a hosted dinner and a fun show, both of which are family-friendly. Finally, on Wednesday, October 28th at 12 noon Eastern, we will be hosting our idea sharing contest. 4 finalists will be selected to present their winning ideas for the benefit of the entire group. These 4 will be picked by a group of judges to present on October 28th, and the winner will be picked by their peers during the session. In order to have your idea considered, please submit a 3-minute or less video of you sharing your idea by October 12th. There are only 5 days left to submit your idea. The 4 finalists and presenters for the October 28th session will be announced the prior week. Any idea is a good one. It could be a sales concept, a practice management idea, a networking idea, anything. So please grab your phone or tablet and record something for submission. Should you have any questions, please let us know. But more importantly, please share and have fun with it. Without further delay, just a couple housekeeping items. Number 1, all attendees will be on mute. Number 2, please submit any questions you have through the chat function in the attendee hub. Number 3, most of the sessions will be recorded, and a link to the recording will be made available after the session. And 4, please don't forget to complete the session survey after each session. Again, I would like to thank all of you for being here today. Now I would like to introduce our speaker, Teresa Easler, who is going to do a deep dive into whether or not we are all camera ready. Teresa has more than 30 years of experience as a marketing and management strategist and corporate coach. As a founder of Connect to the Core, a company that breaks down the barriers between communication and sales, Teresa has worked with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and companies to grow sales and create new systems and processes. Teresa, I'm pleased to turn this over to you now.
Thank you, Kathy, and welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And this whole webinar came out of conversations that I was having with my clients, with friends, about the changes that took place as all of us were now navigating, selling, communicating, being in our relationship management with our clients and our prospects. And across the board, what everybody was saying is, man, this stuff, being on this platform, being on Zoom, trying to do things on video, I'm really good at that in-person stuff. This is hard. How do I do this and be as effective as I've always been throughout my career? And so I thought I better help here. I know how to do this. Let me help people and provide them with some tips and some techniques and some ideas on how they can be most effective, as effective using this kind of medium as they are when they're meeting with their clients. So I'm going to share those with you over the next couple of minutes. There is one underlying piece of advice. There is one specific rule that applies to everything. And this is in all communication, but especially when you're on video or you're on a Zoom call or WebEx or whatever platform you're using. And that rule is you must be authentic. And I think Oscar Wilde really captured this perfectly in a quote: "Be yourself, everyone else is taken." And that's really the truth of it, is being yourself, being your authentic self is more important when you are using a virtual platform than when you're in person. When you're in person, it's easy. You're having conversations, you're eyeballing somebody, you're seeing them across the table, or as you're looking them in the eye, you're reading the body language, you're doing all of those things. In this kind of medium, we're missing a lot of the things that we rely upon that enable us to feel comfortable about being ourselves. And so something happens, as soon as that camera comes on, as soon as we, like in this setting, if you're in a normal setting, you see yourself and all of a sudden it throws you off, and we become very self-conscious. And that self-consciousness removes us for being just settled into who we are and what we're really great at. So that whole piece of being yourself, simple, not easy, being ourselves, particularly as you are engaging in this kind of medium, is the number one rule of the road. And I'm not gonna get into huge detail specifically about that. That's a whole nother webinar on how to tap into who you are as your authentic self and let it expand. Instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on three different things that are instantaneous things you can take and apply right away as you are either in your Zoom calls and Zoom meetings, or whether or not you're videotaping. So one of the things that I'm going to cover is how to look professional. Like, what are some of the things that are different when you're in front of a camera than are true for you when you're in person? There are some very specific things that you have to take into consideration on camera that you don't have to in person. So that's one thing. The next thing is how to make your content sticky, how to make it memorable. What is it about what you're saying that's going to attract people and have them pay attention? Particularly if you're in a meeting and you are talking for 30, 40, 50 minutes, how to keep people from not checking their emails, not multitasking, not going, doing 1,000 other things. So what is it about your content that's going to keep people engaged and with you every step of the way? And then the final thing that I'm going to cover today is I'm going to give you some specific delivery techniques that are especially important for you as you are on camera, as you are engaging in this medium. And again, some of them translate also when you're in person. There's a different level of consideration as you are working on camera that's important for you to be most effective. So those are the three things that I'm going to cover today. First thing, how do you look professional? So I'm going to get controversial straight out of the gate here. And that is I'm going to speak about makeup, and not just for women. Okay? So I know some of you guys are right now just like, did she just say we need to wear makeup? Yes. In fact, I am saying that to you. And when I'm saying makeup is first, I'm going to speak a little bit more to women because they're going to be a little bit more comfortable with this. But with makeup, when you're on camera, you have to wear more makeup than you would in person because it doesn't translate. It doesn't come through. So you know what? If you've got baggy eyes, they're going to look baggier. This, by the way, is also true for men. So using some highlighter to get rid of some of the bags under your eyes, make your eyes brighter so they pop a little bit. Put some blush on so that you don't just look flat. All of those things are going to have you look better on camera. Now, maybe some of you, and some of you guys too, maybe you do the full makeup treatment when you do your in-person stuff. I imagine not all of you, but a few of you might. But I am going to suggest that you take that into consideration. Look at how do you look on camera. It doesn't look the same as when you look in the mirror. The one thing, and for you guys, if you're feeling a little bit like, yeah, no way, Teresa, I'm never going to do that. For those of you, I can hear you. Even though you're on mute, I can hear you saying it. So even for those of you who are saying that, there is one thing that is really important for all of you to do, and that is powder. And years and years ago, one of my first companies was a event company, and we did huge events, video productions, all of that stuff. And the one thing that I always had with me for any of the executives who were going up and presenting was powder, because it is not a good look for you to be shiny. And so using a powder, there is a specific kind of powder that you can use for when you're on camera or when you're in an important meeting on Zoom. And it's a blotting powder. That's what it's called. And you can go to any makeup counter and say, I'm looking for blotting powder. And they will be able to give that to you because, by the way, a lot of people are on camera these days. So just to keep it out, keep the shine off. And because if you look shiny, it's not a good look for you. It actually undermines your credibility with the audience. And some of you have been around long enough that will remember, if you are not old enough that you witnessed, you may remember hearing about the whole Nixon and Kennedy debate. And it is alleged that Nixon lost the debate because he was sweating profusely. And here John Kennedy was looking calm and collected and handsome, and Nixon was sweating. You may not be sweating profusely, but if you're shiny, if it looks like that, then it detracts from people being able to hear what it is that you have to say. It's a very quick, it's an easy fix. As I said, a blotting powder, put it on, take the shine off, and then people can see your face and listen to what it is that you're saying. So that's one thing, how you look, that makeup thing, right? The second thing is, what are you wearing? So what you wear and what is available to you to wear in person is not the same thing that's available to you on camera. There are things to avoid. So one thing to avoid is white. White doesn't come off on camera as white. It looks gray. It looks dingy. So your crisp white shirt now looks like you forgot to take it to the cleaners. It's not, again, it doesn't have you look your best. Now you can wear white if you've got something over, if you've got a jacket over, a sweater over, something over top of the white, it will not have it become dingy looking. So avoid white unless there's something over it. The other thing is solid colors are what you wear. And, so solid, better if it's bright. You'll notice I'm wearing a very bright shirt today. It's intentional. Solid, bright is great. Avoid busy and active prints and stripes, especially. So again, you might have this great striped shirt that you love to wear and plaids or prints that you love to wear because they're one of your favorite things. When you are in person, that's great. But on camera, what happens is those prints and those stripes will cause the camera to buzz. You'll see them, they'll kind of move. So instead you go with solids, or if you have prints that they're not too busy, they're pretty subtle. And you can do lots of textures, you can do that sort of thing. Just avoid, the checks, plaids, lots of busy prints, because they will be distracting on camera for you. So again, pastels you can do if you got blues and yellows and pinks and solids, those are all good. So those are some clothing things. Really easy to implement things. On one end of it, one of the things that I've seen with how much I'm on Zoom calls is that, like most people, I have the full array of all the fun things in my wardrobe. And it's like, my God, I need to get more solids. I need more solid clothes. I don't have enough solids. I've got to go out and, oh my gosh, I've got to go shopping. I've got to find more solids. So that may not sound like an opportunity to some of you, but do give yourself permission to have a whole array of different colors that are there that are not going to conflict with what's going on camera. All right, so that's it. So what are what's your makeup? What's your clothing? Here's the one that everybody, I wish I could see all of you on camera, because as soon as I say this, everybody instantly does something. So here's the thing. Posture matters on camera. So when you're on camera, most likely, most of us are seated when we're on camera. And your posture when you're seated is really important. So here are the rules of the road. When you're seated, you can lean a little bit forward, so not like fully in, but just a little bit forward. Your shoulders need to be back. Your back is straight. So good posture still counts on camera. So your back is straight, have your feet flat on the ground. Those butt bones, your sit bones, have you be seated on those so that you're in a good, strong position. The reason that your posture is so important is it reflects your confidence. When I'm going to just demonstrate. If I'm doing something like this, if I'm seated something like this, it communicates something different to the audience. It communicates a sloppiness. It communicates a disengagement. And as you are communicating over this medium, it doesn't miss anything. Video cameras do not miss anything. The same thing with a Zoom call. They don't miss anything. So these are little things that we can adjust and that are going to communicate things that are important, that are going to engage people in a different way and convey the message that we would like to convey. So posture matters. Sit straight, your back straight, lean a little bit forward, feet on the ground, sit on those sit bones, and be sure and eliminate fidgeting. That's a big thing. I was working with a group of people who are putting together a conference similar to this conference last week. And they're all seated, and one of the guys was in a chair that swiveled, and the whole time he was swiveling like this, back and forth and back and forth. It's like, no, stay still, put your feet on the ground and stay still, and communicate with the audience the way you would and with the intentionality that you would if you were in person with them. So those are 3 quick things that you can do that are going to have you look professional. That just like your appearance is going to have you look very professional on camera, on Zoom, on any of the platforms, conferencing platforms. So the next thing is, how do you make your content compelling? Because you've probably noticed when you're on these kinds of calls, it is, when you're an attendee or when you're leading this, it is really easy to get distracted. It is so easy to get distracted, and it appears like it's really easy to not get caught when you're distracted. So we've got some additional challenges that we're all facing with this. So how do you have your content be compelling enough that keeps people engaged? Well, the first thing is to make sure that you include storytelling. Storytelling is one of the things that has people pay attention. We like stories. We're compelled by stories. We understand complexity through stories. So our integration of storytelling into the conversation, into the content, is one of the ways that you are going to have your content come alive. Now, there's a way to tell stories, and then there's a way to tell stories. So when you are telling stories, make sure you are selling the story, not telling the story. And what I mean by that is we can provide information in a way that it's a bit like Dragnet, Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am. You can do it that way, and nobody's going to pay attention. It will be boring. Instead, you can sell the story. You can become, you can understand your emotional connection to the story that you're telling. You can be invested in the message of it, that there's a passion, there's a willingness to be vulnerable as you're sharing whatever it is that you're sharing. And with this, as I coach people in their presentation and their communication skills, I will often say, what was the most memorable presentation you've ever seen? And there was a period of time several years ago where one person's name came up over and over and over again, and not in a positive way. And so it was very interesting because most people speak about the ones that have been the best, but people kept mentioning somebody who was the worst. And that person was Lance Armstrong. So this is pre scandal and everything. And what they were saying is here's a guy who had come up and he's accomplished all these things, yet the way he spoke about it was, yeah, I had oatmeal for breakfast. So here he would get up and speak, yeah, I won the Tour de France 7 times and I beat testicular cancer and then I went out for a walk. He was so disengaged emotionally from the accomplishment, from what he had done, that people walked away going, this is weird. Like, this is like, there's no connection to his experience. When you are selling a story, you must have an emotional connection. You must actually know why you're telling the story and the impact that you intend to have it have. Now, there's also the other thing about it is it's a short story. It's not a novel. So when you are relaying stories or those examples or those experiences, make sure that you're very clear about what's the intent. Is it relevant? Why is it relevant? What does it mean to your audience? How does it help them understand something important that you're trying to convey? If it's just because you're going to talk about yourself, don't put that story in there. It's not about you, it's about them. So using your storytelling, having your own emotional connection to it and sharing that with understanding is like, what's the point of it? Get to the point of it. How did it resolve? What does that mean to the people in your audience? And always, 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 you must tie it back to their own relevance. Again, it's about them. It's not about you. So that's an incredible piece for you as you're developing content on this medium particularly. It's critical. If you are only providing information, if it's like you're using a slide deck and you've just got a whole bunch of strategies and illustrations, know that people's eyes are going to glass over and they're going to miss what you're saying. But when you bring in a story, when you bring in an example, when you bring those things in, now, and you tie it back to their own relevance, now it becomes meaningful. Now they're going to be paying attention, where all of that information, I promise you, they are going to check out. They're not going to be listening. So that's the piece of it, is how do you make it compelling? Is like, what is it that makes it sticky? Storytelling, tell a story, sell the story, don't tell the story, and make sure you're connected to it. So the last piece, how do you say it? How do you say the things that you want to say when you're using this medium? So what are some of those delivery techniques? Again, this medium, and whether it be on video or it's on this kind of a platform, your energy and animation is a necessity. So you have to bring more energy to any of that communication than you have to in person, because your audience, the people who are listening to you, don't have all of the means for communicating that we're accustomed to. They are limited, really. They can't read your energy. They can't read your body language easily. They can't get a sense of what the room is. They can't get the tone of it. What they've got is they've got a lesser dimension that they're relying upon. So your ability to bring your energy to the situation is going to help convey your message. And when I say your animation, you'll notice I talk with my hands. I'm not even Italian, and I have kindred spirits there because I am a hand talker. Now, one of the things is, as you are being more animated, what you have is you've got a screen size. So if I start talking out here, I'm outside of the realm I'm outside of my stage, if you will. So know how big a stage you have to work with, and allow your animation to include that. Some of you may use green screen backgrounds. So you may have images that you're using in the background. One of the things to be aware of, by the way, just my opinion, they're not my favorite thing to do, but they're better than dirty laundry and dirty dishes in the background, just as a side note. But one of the things to be aware of, if you are using one of those simulated backgrounds, know that if you're moving, your hand or your head or part of your body may disappear into the background, just because that's the nature of the beast there. So be aware that your stage that you're working with, the format that you have, may be even more limited by that. Within that area, allow your energy to come out. That means having that more animation, having a lot more vocal texture that allows you to express yourself and get people engaged from that way. The and the other thing about it is you must maintain that energy level, whatever that energy level is. You must maintain that throughout the meeting or the communication or the presentation or the video, whatever the format is. So you can't start out strong and then peter off. You've got to maintain it throughout the entire communication. And after that, then you can collapse. Then it's okay, right? The one of the other things is, because you don't have someone you get to speak to, you have to imagine it. So that's why any of you have done on camera stuff, you have to imagine who the audience is as if you are speaking to them. So you're using your imagination, you're still interacting with them just like they were in person with you. So visualize them. If you want to put a photo of them up or a group of pictures of a group of people up, if that helps you with the visualization, do that. But know that you are really speaking to people, even if you can't see them on the other side of the little green light or the little red light that's on the other side. And then speak to them in a conversational tone, just like you would in person when you have all that confidence about yourself and your relationship abilities. Be willing to be conversational in your language. So just like you were hanging out, talking to your neighbor over the back fence, about an upcoming barbecue and chit-chatting that way, be willing to look at them and have your conversation in that way. And that gets to one of my other points, which is eye contact. Yes, eye contact really does matter still. So look into the camera, make sure that's where your focus is. It becomes very challenging if you're on a Zoom call and it's a gallery view and you're looking at each other or looking at yourself, because we all fall into that one. Know that you have to keep coming back and looking at the camera. I'll show you what I do. This is my little tip. I have this sticky. Can y'all see it? It says, look here. So I put that and I put it under my camera so that I always have a reminder where I'm to look. So when I'm veering off, because it happens to me too, if I'm veering off and focusing and looking at myself, or I'm veering off and looking at people in a gallery view, that's not where the camera is looking. And so it'll have you look shifty-eyed. So you'll be looking around and instead of looking at the camera. So if you need a little sticky that helps you look here, do that. If you have a mounted camera on top, it's a little bit easier, but remember, you're still going to get drawn to looking at the faces of people. We do that naturally. Know that where you want to look is in the camera. So a couple of technical things for you to be aware of. I mentioned for a moment about backgrounds. Be conscious of your backgrounds when you are communicating. My recommendation for everybody is that you have 1 or 2, 3, if you can do it, if you've got enough space to it, 1, 2, or 3 what I call Zoom rooms, places that are your go-to places, setups that you've got that are easy to put into place whenever you're going onto a Zoom call or whenever you're videotaping. It will take the headache out of it for it. You will know how to do your lighting. You will know how the background looks. You will feel confident as you're going into those meetings and that you're presenting yourself in a really good way. So a couple of things to be thinking about. Lighting is a big one. By the way, none of this has to cost a whole ton of money either. You can spend a lot of money if you want to, and you don't have to. One of the things that you want to be very aware of, first of it is, as I said, backgrounds, making sure you don't have dirty clothes back there. You don't have empty beer bottles. Unfortunately, I'm saying that from a client who had that problem. One of their salespeople was doing a Zoom call with a client in their kitchen, and they had leftover beer bottles from the night before. It's like, yikes, right? So be conscious of what the background looks like. Does it represent you well? If it's got too much going on in the background, it's going to be a distraction. So nicely designed, not too many things going on in the background, and frame you as the speaker presenter in a really good way. So remember, you're the focal point, not the background. And know that everybody is going to be checking out the background. Everybody is going to be checking out the background. I mean, I can't tell you how many people is going, oh, you like Neil Young, you like Bob Dylan, because those are the books that are in my bookcase in my library that are right behind me. So people are going to be checking out everything about your background. So make sure it's something that you are happy with people checking out, that it's not going to embarrass you somewhere down the road. So that's the one thing about backgrounds. Lighting is another part of this. And probably the most important thing is that making sure that you don't have bright lights behind you. If you have bright light behind you, you will look like just a dark shadow. And it becomes very annoying for the people who are watching. It's very distracting for them. So know that if you've got bright sunlight, if you've got a window or something like that behind you, it's going to make it very difficult for people on your meetings or in your videos to pay attention to you. They won't be able to see you. You'll just look dark. So making sure you can get a ring light. There are various sizes. I have multiple sizes of ring lights that I use. You can get it on Amazon. They're inexpensive, $30, something, 30 to under $100 that you can get. And I use various sizes depending on what I'm using them for. Small ones, like around this size, to 8, I think these are 8-inch, larger ones if you're doing videotape and you're at further distance. In this particular Zoom room that I'm using, I have a table lamp that provides me with a really wonderful warm light, and I have a little bit of ambient light too. So I know that I rarely have to use that additional lighting. I have it on hand all the time. That's right here. I always use an external mic because microphones can get a little wonky. And so you'll look and test your own microphones. But those are a couple of technical things you can use depending on the camera that you have on your computer. If it's a good camera, no need for an external, or you can go with an external. Again, you do not have to break the bank for these things, and they make a huge difference. But the lighting, absolutely, background lighting are must do considerations for you to really pull this off in the best possible way. And those are one of the, I'm going to answer a question because somebody may already have this one coming up. One of the things that I've had people ask a lot about is, what about glasses? And this is true whether you're in person or on video or on Zoom. If you are engaging on video or on Zoom a lot, my recommendation is, one, if you need to wear glasses, wear your glasses. So, but the other piece of it is if you can get non-glare glass. So it won't reflect back. You're not going to see it coming back and showing exactly your audience, exactly what you're looking at on your screen. So they're going to be able to read everything in your eyeglasses if you don't have non-glare. So be aware of some of those things too. All right, so I just whipped through a whole bunch of things. Most of them I think are tips and techniques that you can instantly apply that are going to make a huge difference in how you look when you are on camera, when you are on a Zoom call. Again, making sure that how you look, making sure the makeup or lack of, or the powder, whichever extent that you're comfortable with, how the clothing that you wear, your posture, so important. I cannot emphasize it enough. And then how you create your content so it's compelling, that it is engaging, that you are selling that story, that you're emotionally connected to it, that it has a point, and that it reflects back and is relevant to the people that you're communicating. And then the how you say it, making sure that you're animated, that you bringing all of your energy, that you've got great eye contact, and that you are imagining speaking to people, that this is not a cardboard thing. There are real people on the other side of those cameras. Being aware of your background, of the sound, implementing a few easy things so that you're set up and it's stress-free for you, that you can just get right into it and you can be your authentic self just like you are when you are in person. So one of the things, because I know I whipped through a whole bunch of things pretty quickly here, one of the things that we have made available is, if you would like, you can reach out to us, and there's a PDF of the do's and don'ts of when you're on these kinds of calls, when you're on conference calls. So there's a whole list of those. Gonzalo, if you might want to share how they can get that at this point. But if it's really easy, we'll send it to you. It's a great PDF that's really simple. Do this, don't do that. It's going to reemphasize the things that I've spoken to you about today. For those of you, for yourself or your team members that that you would like to work on your communication skills further, we've got a program. It's called Encore Communication Coaching. We have sessions that are available that are coming up. If that's something that you would like to explore and you're interested in, the contact information of how to find out about that is also on here. And if you have any other questions, my company and our intent is absolutely committed to having people be great communicators, to translate, that data exchange, information dump into real communication in our conversations and all of our other communication. So I'm going to turn this over to Gonzalo to see if there were any questions that that occurred to you as I was here chatting away. If there are some burning issues that you would like to get some input on, and how you can be better and better. So, over to you, Gonzalo.
Thank you, Teresa. Kathy, I don't have any pending questions on the ask a question function of the app, but there are a number of them in the chat stream. Do you want to handle those?
Gonzalo, I asked a question.
Okay. In the app, I do not see that one. So let's just go ahead and cover. And me wearing my plaid shirt and all the distractions in the background. Teresa, thank you for covering some of that stuff for us. We do have a few questions. Go ahead.
So the first question that I asked Teresa, and yeah, I mean, with you with your plaid shirt and me with my white shirt, so we both benefited greatly from this session. My question was, Teresa, do you suggest announcing at the beginning of a virtual meeting how long you expect it to last, so that the expectations are set at the outset? because this is such a different medium that everybody is now working in, what are your tips regarding that?
You know what? It's a great question, and I'm going to answer two parts of this. Yes, the way it's actually, even how it's scheduled should be an indicator of how long it's going to last. And a couple of recommendations on it. When you're doing something like I just did, where it's really more of a presentation, my recommendation is maximum 40 minutes. That's really like pushing the envelope of attention spans. When and then allowing for Q&A with that. If you are going, some of us, I know I'm on long meetings, sometimes all day long. And if you are in some sort of a format like that, if you are, for instance, leading seminars, if you're doing virtual seminars, and I don't know if any of you are, but if you are, there is a format that is very effective. And that is, one is know that people's attention spans are shorter. So you have to, even if it's, for instance, a 3 or 4 hour meeting, my recommendation is, to your point, Kathy, let people know how you're going to break it down. Break it down into 50-minute segments, so that you've got 50 minutes with a 10-minute break, 50 minutes with a 10-minute break. Within that 50 minutes, the structure that I've personally found works really well is that there are opening comments. So you would be, for instance, you may be getting the high level view of whatever the next section is that you're going to be speaking about. So you're going to be giving your State of the Union, if you will. And then at that point, then you open it up for interaction, either in breakout rooms. I'm a big advocate of breakout rooms, having people share with other people. You may have them do some sort of an exercise to get their own thinking going before they're speaking, and then come back as a full group to speak about what the findings or the conversations have been, and then go to break, and then rinse and repeat. Do that again. These long 8-hour Zoom meetings are absolutely mind-numbing. Mm-hmm. And if we had some of that kind of structure around them, they would go very quickly and people would walk away with a lot more for it. So that was a long answer, Kathy. Yes, with the format, letting people know in advance how it's going to be set up, about how long it's going to take, what the agenda is going to be, is very important.
Thank you. We've got a number of questions that have come in. So here's one that says, how do I coordinate needing to show a whiteboard along with what I'm sharing on the screen during the meeting? And also, is there a way to be able to draw on a Zoom screen or whatever the presenter is sharing?
A great question. And what I personally use is something called Miro, M-I-R-O. And it's a collaborative software. It is so easy to use. And my testament to how easy it is to use is one of my team members, who does a lot of brainstorming work with me, is the most technologically challenged person on the planet, I swear. And she says, this is so easy to use. So she says it's easy to use. You can take it to the bank. But it's again, it's M-I-R-O. You can use it like a whiteboard and Post-its. It is collaborative, so you can share it. And it's a great brainstorming tool. And the way we use Zoom in my company all the time. We use it and we do a shared screen with it.
Okay.
So check it out.
Thank you. Another question that came in was, what do you recommend for people with standing desks?
Oh, you are in great shape. I love standing desks. The main thing with standing desks and all of us, that whole eye contact thing, is to make sure that your the camera is elevated to eye level. So if you're at a standing desk, you don't want to be looking up at it or down at it. You want to be looking straight on. Same thing if you're seated, to make sure that your computer is elevated. In my library room, in this room, I actually just sit my computer on top of a couple of books until I know which 2 books I grab and it's at eye level for me. With your standing desk, it's easier to be able to look into the camera because it's usually elevated. So it's better for you at that standpoint. When you're working with a standing desk, since you're not, the posture issue is a little bit different for you than those of us who are seated. Here's what's important for you to be aware of. Stance, posture still really important. So none of that fidgeting, none of that moving around. Again, same thing, shoulders back, your spine is straight, feet are hip distance apart, and have your shoulders relaxed. So don't have your, sometimes when we're tense, our shoulders move way up about our ears. So have your shoulders be relaxed, be really at ease. Your comfort level in standing is going to communicate your confidence. And comfort is not the same thing as too casual. Be careful about being too casual. Hips out, leaning on one arm or leaning on one leg. Be really careful of that because it comes off as sloppy and that you don't care. So that posture is really important.
Another question that came in, and this happens a lot of time on the meetings that I attend, and I'm really curious as to your opinion. The question is, what is the etiquette for going on, off camera in a group setting, and perhaps taking a drink of water, or anything else that people might be doing during these virtual meetings?
Yeah, well, if we were in a meeting in a boardroom, we would have water, we would be drinking, we would have a cup of coffee, we would be doing something like that. Some of the same etiquette that would be in person, you're going to use on camera. While everybody else is there sitting and eating a sandwich is not a good look. So some of the standard etiquette is don't eat and drink when you are on a Zoom call. Now, having said that, I think that taking a drink of water and setting it back down is perfectly fine. Having a cup of coffee and drinking a cup of coffee, setting it back down is perfectly fine. Be aware that if it's a lunch meeting, then it's a different thing. Like if you're all eating together, you're all doing that together, then it's great. But the rules of the road that you would do in an in-person meeting around food and drink are exactly the same. My opinion from an etiquette about muting yourself, muting your video and not muting your video is, personally, when I'm an attendee, I think it's more gracious to give people my undivided attention. If I've blocked out the time to attend to something, then I'm going to be there and I'm going to be present. I'm going to give them my full attention. If you're not able to do that, then let whoever your host is know that you're going to have to duck out or you have to attend to something. But if you've got to duck out, make sure you mute yourself. At least have the courtesy to mute yourself. We have all had those epic fails or seen those epic fails on Zoom calls where we've seen things we really don't want to see. And we've heard things we really don't want to hear. So part of it as a host, being able to remind people, because we forget, it happens, remind people to make sure to mute themselves, mute their video and mute their audio. A little bit of a side thing, you didn't ask this, but I'm going to answer it anyway. When you mute your video, make sure that you have a photo or a placeholder that represents you, that you are proud of, that you're comfortable with, whether it's your headshot, whether it's you know, some other kind of photo, something. Remember, this is your brand. And make sure that when you're muting your video, that what shows up is something that you, not just a blank with your name. Have it take the opportunity for yourself to brand yourself with that.
Thank you. And then the folks that turn their video on and off during a meeting, how do you feel about that? Is it, if you've committed to the meeting, should you leave it on all the time, or what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I mean, one is it's really annoying to everybody else. So understand the impact of doing that. What's the impact that has on the people who are not only the hosts, but also the other attendees. It's annoying and it's distracting. So know what the impact is. So it reflects on you. Now, are there circumstances in which you have to do that? Yeah. You know, if you're in the middle of a long meeting and guess what, nature calls, then, you know, make sure that you mute yourself and go. But be respectful and conscious of the impact that you're having on others. So don't, if you wouldn't like it happening to you, don't do it to other people. Be considerate, be thoughtful.
So I think what I'm hearing you say, Teresa, is you've got to treat these video meetings just like you were sitting in a boardroom in person.
Absolutely.
And if you wouldn't do it in person, then it shouldn't be done in the comfort of your home studio, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
Fair enough.
Right. Yeah, if you weren't going to wear like your grubby t-shirt and your sweats on a video call, don't do it on in a person. Don't do it on a video call.
Right. But now you've got me rethinking my dress when I attend a meeting in person. Should I be in that white shirt or not? But
No,
that's
in person, it's okay. In person, it's
another
fine.
presentation. We do have one more question, and it's from Deborah Shotsky, who we're so delighted was able to join us today. And apparently Deborah is working, has you working with her and her company.
Yes.
And her question to you was, can you share a little bit more detail about your program on how you got her company, Deborah's company, to grow 70% over the last 2 years? Wow, that's an impressive number. And how
Yeah.
you've been training her team members.
Well, that's a longer, thank you, Deborah, for asking that question for me. What I work with Deborah and her team on is their strategic planning. So one thing is that they're all aligned as a team on what the destination is, what the goal is, where they're all heading, and the accountability for each individual, what their contribution is to that. So we have regular meeting rhythms. We have quarterly meetings that we go and we go back and make sure that we find out where we are with regard to the goals and track it. And everybody's on the same page. We're all going in the same direction. And a lot of it is the coaching that happens. I then have monthly coaching calls with her team members too. And that's, you know, where are the hiccups? Where are things not moving smoothly? Where is the teamwork not where we need the teamwork to be? And as Deborah knows, that may be something that team members are doing, that they have to start doing, that they where we want them to step up and take initiative in different ways. And it may be some places where Deborah is the problem. Sorry, Deb. And she has to do some different things in her behavior. But all of it is that we're all on the same page, heading for the same destination. And then every step along the way, we are making the adjustments where we're falling off track, where we need to get back on track, where each person's individual behaviors need to get aligned or alter to accomplish what we're up against. But that's, you know, that's how we've done it over and over and over again, you know, every month. What are we up to? How are we doing? What needs to change? what are we keeping? What are some things that we need to clear out and have better communication about? And we do that over and over and over again.
And I think that we're at the top of the hour. We're going to take one more question, which was just submitted, and then I've got some important announcements before we conclude. So the last question that came in, Teresa, was, can you define, is there a different approach that somebody needs to take with a one-on-one meeting versus a large group meeting, like a 401k enrollment?
Right. Well, just there are more similarities than dissimilarities. And so let me go to the similarities. The similarities are that the language still has to be conversational. You still have to be your authentic self. You still have to speak to what are they thinking and what's important to them. You know, it's not about you, it's totally about them. So you have, those are things that are still in common with whether it's a large group or it's a one-on-one. You have additional opportunities in one-on-one that you don't have in the large groups. And that is that depth of relationship that's possible, that you can go in deeper and really speak to personal motivations for people. What's personally important to them, and address it address things more on a personal level. Again, just like you would in person, just like you would. The main thing I would like you to be able to develop is the skill of not looking at the camera or looking at Zoom as a barrier, but that it's really just another way for you to be able to communicate the way you're great at communicating. It's a technology that lets us be with people that we won't be able to be right now, that we can't be with right now. So rather than treating it as like, oh my God, how do I do this thing? It's, you know, it's really pretty simple. There are a few rules of the road that are different about it, but be your magnificent, wonderful, authentic, relationship building person that you are in person, and start forgetting about this technology being in the way.
Terrific. Teresa, thank you. I certainly learned a lot, and there's a number of things that I need to do to make my presence, my presence online up to your standards.
Thank
So,
you. And you know, I think if there's one final thing for everybody, be gentle with yourself about this. You know, until you feel really comfortable with it, it's going to feel awkward. So be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just keep working at it and you'll be great. You know, you're already great. This is a new tool that you're learning how to use, and you'll be awesome with it.
great, thank you. So a couple housekeeping items for everyone that's hung in there with us. Please remember to fill out your surveys. They will be emailed to you sometime this afternoon. Also, we've got a terrific program tomorrow, 2 informative sessions that are not to be missed. At 12 o'clock noon Eastern Time, we are going to be joined by internationally recognized estate planning attorney, Edward Wren. Ed is a principal with the international law firm of Withers Bergman, and he is going to speak about wealth planning opportunities in the face of proposed democratic tax policies. We also have a bonus session tomorrow afternoon, which you will not want to miss because it's a business opportunity for you, the advisor. At 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we will be joined by Bill Shiloh, President and CEO of both Libra and LifeMark Re. Bill will discuss how you can invest in LifeMark Re, which is an agent-owned reinsurance company. We hope that you will join us for both sessions tomorrow. Thank you again for your participation, and please reach out to Agency One if we can be of any assistance. Have a nice afternoon, and we hope to see you tomorrow. That concludes the presentation for today.